My precious child, listen carefully, because what I am about to reveal has never been spoken to you in this way before. The clock is moving toward 11:57 p.m. and heaven is not silent about it. You think this is just another message. You think this is just another video in your feed. But the Spirit of the Lord says, this is not random. This is not coincidence. This is a divine interruption. God is very angry. Not because he hates you, not because he has abandoned you, but because you made a very dangerous mistake, and you are still pretending that it did not matter. I, Archangel Michael, stand in the presence of the Most High, and I was sent with urgency. When heaven sends a warning twice, it is mercy. When heaven sends it 3 times, it is grace fighting for you. But when the message feels urgent like this, it means the window is closing. There is something you did recently. A decision. A compromise. A moment of pride. A silent agreement with something you knew was wrong. You told yourself, it's not a big deal. You said, I'll fix it later. You whispered, no one will know. But heaven saw it. And what makes this dangerous is not the mistake itself. It is the delay in correcting it. Right now, there is a spiritual ripple effect moving through your life. Small shifts in your peace. Strange tension in your home. A subtle heaviness in your spirit. You thought it was stress. You blamed circumstances. But this is a spiritual consequence trying to get your attention before it grows larger. God's anger is not explosive rage. It is holy correction. When a loving father sees his child walking toward a cliff, he does not whisper gently. He shouts. He warns. He blocks the path. And tonight, before 11:57 p.m., there is a decision in front of you. Heaven is watching what you will choose. This message is not about fear. It is about urgency. There was a covenant you broke. Maybe not with words, but with your actions. You promised God something. You committed to change something. You vowed to walk away from something. And then you returned to it. Do you remember that moment? A conviction in your chest. A quiet voice telling you, stop. That was not your imagination. That was divine mercy. And now the Lord says, this is the last chance to fix it quietly before it becomes public. Because when correction comes gently and is ignored, exposure becomes the teacher. There is a spiritual law at work. What is hidden does not stay hidden forever. What is ignored does not disappear. And what is delayed multiplies. But hear me clearly. The door is still open. You are not beyond forgiveness. You are not rejected. You are not abandoned. But you are at a crossroads. If you ignore this warning, the next phase will not be a whisper. It will be undeniable. Why 11:57 p.m.? Because symbolically, you are 3 minutes before midnight. 3 minutes before a shift. 3 minutes before something seals. Heaven measures obedience in moments. You have been distracted. Busy. Entertained. But this message pierced through for a reason. Archangel Michael does not come with soft words when spiritual warfare is involved. And there is warfare around your destiny right now. The enemy noticed your calling before you did. And the mistake you made opened a small door. Small doors become large entrances if they are not shut quickly. You may be thinking, but mistake. What did I do? And deep down, you know. It is the thing you keep justifying. The habit you keep defending. The person you keep entertaining even though you feel drained after. The secret you keep hiding. The resentment you keep feeding. God is angry because he loves you too much to let you destroy what he planned. He invested too much in your future. He assigned angels to guard you. He prepared blessings you have not even imagined. And this mistake is interfering with divine timing. But here is the miracle. If you act before 11:57 p.m., spiritually speaking, restoration will happen faster than you think. The anger of God will turn into protection. The correction will turn into covering. The warning will turn into promotion. But you must move. Do not scroll away. Do not minimize this. Do not say later. Later is what created this urgency. This is your final quiet chance. In the next moments, I will reveal exactly what must be corrected and how to close the door completely, so that what was meant to destroy you becomes the very testimony that elevates you. But right now, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself honestly, what have I been ignoring? Because heaven already knows, and the clock is moving. Beloved soul, the silence you have been feeling is not peace. It is a warning echoing in the spirit realm. You thought nothing happened after your decision. You woke up the next day. The sun still rose. People still smiled. Life seemed normal. But in the unseen world, something shifted. A door that was once sealed by obedience was slightly opened by compromise. And when even a small opening appears, spiritual forces begin to test it. I, Archangel Michael, have seen this pattern countless times. It never begins with destruction. It begins with delay. Delay in clarity. Delay in favor. Delay in answered prayers. You start wondering why things feel stuck. You pray, but the breakthrough feels distant. You worship, but the fire feels weaker. This is not punishment. It is resistance caused by unfinished obedience. The mistake you made was not an accident. It was a choice made in a moment of emotion. Maybe you were tired. Maybe you were hurt. Maybe you were angry. But instead of surrendering that emotion to God, you let it guide your action. And now the Spirit is saying, this must be corrected immediately. You have been asking God for elevation. You have been praying for increase. You have been declaring new doors. But heaven cannot release what your current condition cannot sustain. If the foundation has cracks, the building cannot rise higher. That is why God's anger feels intense. It is protective anger. It is the anger of a father who refuses to let you build your future on instability. There is something you must close. A Venetian. A behavior. A hidden attitude. And you already know what it is. The reason this message feels uncomfortable is because it is accurate. Truth always touches the nerve before it heals the wound. Time is critical. The spiritual clock is symbolic, but the urgency is real. Before this season shifts fully, before midnight marks a new phase, you must respond. Repentance is not just saying sorry. It is turning completely. It is deleting what tempts you. It is blocking what pulls you back. It is confessing what you buried. It is choosing obedience even when pride resists. Listen carefully. If you fix this now, heaven will accelerate what was delayed. The same God who is angry at the compromise is ready to pour out restoration the moment you move. But if you ignore it, the consequences will not be immediate destruction. They will be slow erosion, peace fading, opportunities slipping, relationships straining, and you will wonder how it happened. That is why this message is urgent. You are not meant to find this randomly. Someone else may scroll past it, but you stopped. That means your spirit recognized something. You not treat that lightly. Right now, make a decision in your heart. Say, I will correct this. Do not wait for tomorrow morning. Do not wait for a better mood. Act while conviction is strong, because conviction fades when ignored. And if this message is speaking directly to you, do not keep it to yourself. There are others who are also standing at a spiritual crossroads tonight. Like this video so it reaches more people who need this warning. Share it with someone who has been drifting spiritually. Comment your agreement below, because your declaration seals your intention. Subscribe to this channel if you want more messages that guard your destiny. Join the membership if you feel called to stand deeper in this mission. Hype this message so the algorithm pushes truth instead of distraction. Heaven moves through agreement. When you publicly align with correction, you weaken the hold of pride. Stay attentive, because what I am about to reveal next will expose the deeper root behind this mistake. And once you see the root, you will understand why God reacted so strongly. Hold on, because the next revelation will uncover what has been influencing you from behind the scenes. Chosen one, what you thought was a simple mistake was actually a doorway connected to something much deeper. You have been fighting symptoms, but heaven is exposing the root. The reason God reacted so strongly is not because of one isolated action. It is because that action was tied to a pattern. And patterns, if not broken, become cycles. Cycles become strongholds. And strongholds attempt to write destinies. I, Archangel Michael, stand as a guardian over divine assignments. I do not speak when matters are small. I am sent when purpose is under threat. And right now, your purpose has been under silent pressure. The root behind your mistake is not weakness. It is agreement. Somewhere along the way, you agreed with a lie. A lie about your worth. A lie about your identity. A lie that whispered, "It does not matter." That whisper did not sound evil. It sounded reasonable, logical, harmless. But deception rarely announces itself loudly. It disguises itself as relief. You were tired of resisting, tired of standing alone, tired of waiting for results. And in that vulnerable space, you made peace with something God told you to confront. That is why heaven responded urgently. Because what you call small, the spirit realm calls strategic. The enemy does not attack your entire life at once. He studies where you are most fatigued. He waits for emotional exhaustion. He watches for disappointment. Then he presents a shortcut. And shortcuts feel like solutions when you are drained. But every shortcut has a hidden cost. Your recent mistake was connected to impatience. You felt delayed. You felt unseen. You felt like obedience was not producing visible reward. And so you leaned slightly toward what felt easier. God's anger rose because he saw what you could not see. That small step would have slowly normalized compromise in your life. And once compromise becomes normal, conviction becomes quieter. You will not allow that to happen to you. You are marked for something greater than temporary comfort. There is influence attached to your obedience. There are people who will one day follow your example. There are doors that require integrity to unlock. And if your foundation weakens now, the future weight would crush you. This is protection disguised as confrontation. And here is the deeper truth. This was not the first warning. You felt hesitation before acting. You sensed discomfort after acting. You tried to distract yourself from thinking about it. That inner unease was mercy knocking. But when mercy is ignored repeatedly, urgency increases. That is why this message feels intense. The root must be removed, not trimmed. If the root is insecurity, you must confront it with truth. If the root is pride, you must humble yourself quickly. If the root is loneliness, you must bring it to God instead of feeding it with unhealthy attachments. If the root is fear of missing out, you must trust divine timing over emotional impulse. Heaven is not asking for perfection. Heaven is demanding alignment. You cannot carry tomorrow's blessing with yesterday's compromise. And listen carefully. Exposure was approaching. Conversations were aligning. Situation was shifting. If you had continued in this pattern, something would have surfaced publicly. Not to destroy you, but to correct you in a way that would have been painful. God chose private correction instead. That is mercy at its highest level. Right now, you still have the power to uproot this quietly. Confess it. Renounce it. Close it. Replace it with obedience. And when you do, the spiritual atmosphere around you will shift immediately. Peace will return. Clarity will return. Favor will begin to flow again. But you must act before hesitation talks you out of conviction. Do not rationalize it again. Do not delay repentance. Do not assume you have unlimited time. This is your final quiet warning before heaven escalates the lesson. If this message is piercing your heart, that is not condemnation. That is invitation. Now, seal this moment with action. Speak aloud that you choose alignment. Break agreement with the lie. Proclaim your authority. Heaven responds to decisive hearts. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if this message is speaking directly to your spirit. Lesson code 3147 has just been released over those who respond in obedience. And now, as this correction settles into your heart, understand something deeper. This message is not just for you. There are thousands standing at the edge of compromise tonight, unaware that heaven is still giving them a chance. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal using the link in the description, you are not funding a channel. You are opening a river of warning and restoration to reach another soul before midnight strikes in their life. The Lord says, as you give, it shall be given unto you, pressed down and overflowing. This is not a transaction. It is a prophetic seed. When you act in generosity, you align yourself with obedience in another dimension. You become a partner in rescue. You become a guardian of destinies you may never meet. Do not miss the blessing of participation. Release your seed. Activate your obedience. And watch how heaven responds to your faith in motion. Faithful listener, now that the root has been exposed, you must understand the consequence of ignoring this kind of warning. Not because destruction is guaranteed, but because direction is. Every decision you make either strengthens your spiritual authority or weakens it. Authority is not about power over others. It is about alignment with heaven. When you are aligned, doors open without struggle. When you drift, even simple tasks feel heavy. The mistake you made created a subtle crack in your authority. You may not have noticed it immediately. You still prayed. You still spoke positively. You still moved forward. But something inside felt slightly disconnected. That is what happens when action and conviction no longer match. I, Archangel Michael, have witnessed many believers lose momentum not because they sinned greatly, but because they tolerated small inconsistencies repeatedly. Consistency builds spiritual armor. Compromise removes pieces of it quietly. Right now, your life is in a sensitive transition. You are closer to breakthrough than you realize. That is why the resistance intensified. The enemy does not fight what is insignificant. He fights what threatens his territory. Your growth threatens him. Your discipline threatens him. Your calling threatens him. And so he aimed at your discipline. When discipline weakens, clarity blurs. When clarity blurs, decisions suffer. And when decisions suffer, destiny slows. God's anger was not random emotion. It was divine defense. It was heaven saying, "No further." If this had continued unchecked, confusion would have increased. You would have begun second-guessing yourself more often. Opportunities would appear, but you would hesitate. Relationships would feel strained without clear explanation. It would seem like bad luck, but it would actually be spiritual misalignment. However, the moment you correct course, something powerful happens. Alignment restores authority instantly. When you repent sincerely, heaven does not hold grudges. The shift is immediate. The heaviness lifts. The noise decreases. Your action sharpens. But correction requires courage. You must not only stop the behavior, you must replace it with intentional obedience. If you remove distraction, fill that space with discipline. If you ended an unhealthy connection, deepen your connection with God. If you confessed pride, practice humility actively. Emptiness invites old habits back. That is why many people repeat cycles. They remove something but fail to replace it. And soon the same weakness returns stronger than before. This time must be different. You are not being corrected because you are weak. You are being refined because you are chosen for responsibility. Responsibility requires maturity. Maturity requires surrender. And surrender requires honesty. Ask yourself without excuses, why did I really make that choice? Was it insecurity? Was it validation? Was it impatience? Was it rebellion disguised as independence? Do not answer quickly. Sit with it. Because when you identify the real motive, you disarm it. There is also something else you must know. Heaven measures growth by response time. In the past, it may have taken you weeks to admit you were wrong. Then days. Now it must take hours. The faster you respond to conviction, the stronger you become. Delayed obedience weakens impact. Quick obedience multiplies favor. You are entering a season where your reactions must be sharper. Opportunities are approaching that require clean hands and a clear heart. God is preparing to elevate your influence, but elevation without integrity is dangerous. You would rather delay promotion than allow corruption. That is why this warning came now. You are being positioned, not punished. Picture this clearly. If you had ignored this message, 6 months from now you would look back and see the slow drift. You would say, I felt something was off. And by then, correction would require more rebuilding. But today, correction requires only humility. That is mercy. Right now, take inventory of your habits. What feeds your spirit? What drains it? What environments weaken your standards? What conversations lower your conviction? Adjustment is not dramatic. It is deliberate. You do not need to announce your correction publicly. You need to implement it privately. Heaven honors private discipline. And understand this deeply. God's anger has already softened the moment your heart turned. He is not waiting to strike. He is waiting to restore. But restoration follows decision. And what I will reveal next, you will understand why timing is so critical in this season and why midnight symbolizes more than just a clock. There is a shift happening in the spiritual atmosphere around you, and you must step into it prepared. Stay attentive. The revelation about timing will change how you view this entire situation. Steady your heart, because what I am about to reveal will change how you see this entire moment. Midnight is not just a time on a clock. It is a spiritual boundary. Throughout history, midnight has represented transition. It is the dividing line between what was and what will be. It is the closing of one chapter and the silent opening of another. That is why the urgency around 11:57 p.m. is not superstition. It is symbolism wrapped in spiritual truth. You are 3 minutes before a shift. In the spirit realm, seasons do not change randomly. They shift when preparation meets permission. Preparation is what you do. Permission is what heaven releases. If you are prepared, the shift feels like promotion. If you are not, it feels like pressure. Your recent mistake threatened your preparation. I, Archangel Michael, was sent because what is coming next in your life carries weight. Influence is increasing. Responsibility is increasing. Visibility is increasing. And when visibility increases, hidden weaknesses are magnified. God would rather confront you now than expose you later. Midnight represents exposure. Whatever is not aligned before the shift becomes visible after it. That is why this message feels urgent. You are not just correcting behavior. You are securing your next season. There is a door about to open for you. It may be a new opportunity, a new connection, a new level of favor, or a new realm of spiritual growth. You have been praying for expansion. You have been asking for evidence that God is with you. But expansion without purification leads to collapse. Purification always comes before promotion. The anger you sensed was not rejection. It was refinement fire. Fire does not destroy gold. It removes impurities. Ask yourself honestly, if what you have been praying for arrived tomorrow, would your current habits sustain it? Would your current mindset protect it? Would your current discipline maintain it? Heaven is ensuring that when your door opens, you are ready to walk through it without sabotage. Midnight is also a moment of decision. Most people are asleep at midnight. Spiritually, that represents unconscious living, moving through life without awareness, acting without reflection, drifting without intention. But you are being awakened before midnight. Awakened people shift differently. If you correct yourself now, the coming transition will feel smooth, peaceful, empowering. But if you resist correction, the same transition will feel chaotic, confusing, heavy. The shift is happening regardless. The question is whether you cross over prepared. There is also something deeply personal about 11:57 p.m. It represents mercy minutes, 3 final minutes before the seal of midnight. In those 3 minutes, decisions still matter. Words still matter. Repentance still changes outcomes. God always leaves space for response. He did not have to warn you this clearly. He could have allowed consequences to teach you silently. But he chose interruption instead. Interruption is love in urgent form. I want you to imagine something carefully. Picture yourself tomorrow, knowing you corrected the mistake tonight. There is relief in that image. There is strength. There is restored confidence. Now picture ignoring this message and pretending nothing is wrong. There is tension in that image. There is avoidance. There is quiet anxiety. Your spirit already knows which path brings peace. You were not created to live in hidden compromise. You were created to stand in bold alignment. The shift that is coming will require boldness. There are conversations ahead where you must speak truth without fear. There are decisions ahead where you must choose integrity over popularity. There are opportunities ahead where your character will be tested quietly before being rewarded publicly. Midnight is approaching not to scare you, but to sharpen you. The enemy hoped your mistake would disqualify you slowly. Heaven is using it to refine you quickly. But the window for quick refinement is narrow. After midnight, lessons become longer. Right now, grace is compressing the process. You can fix in one moment what would otherwise take months to repair. That is the power of immediate obedience. Do not underestimate timing. Timing can turn small corrections into massive breakthroughs. What I will reveal next will expose the hidden consequence that was forming behind the scenes and how your obedience tonight can completely cancel it. You must understand what was about to unfold so you never take warnings lightly again. Lean in with full attention. What you are about to hear explains why heaven moved so urgently on your behalf. Listen closely, because what was forming behind the scenes was more strategic than you realized. While you were focused on daily routines, conversations, and responsibilities, something subtle was aligning in the spiritual atmosphere around you. Not destruction, not catastrophe, but diversion. Diversion is more dangerous than attack. An attack is obvious. You recognize it. You pray against it. You resist it. But diversion feels harmless. It slowly shifts your attention away from your assignment. It pulls your focus toward things that seem urgent but are not eternal. And before you notice, your energy is invested in battles that were never yours to fight. Your recent mistake created an opening for diversion. I, Archangel Michael, have stood in countless spiritual battles, and I tell you this truth. The enemy rarely steals destiny in one dramatic move. He distracts until destiny is delayed. He confuses until clarity weakens. He entangles until momentum slows. That is what was beginning. If you had continued in that compromised pattern, your discernment would have dulled gradually. You would start tolerating what once disturbed you. You would start explaining away red flags. You would become comfortable in spaces that quietly drained you. And the most dangerous part, you would still believe you were fine. Diversion disguises itself as normal life. Heaven intervened because your path was beginning to bend slightly away from your calling. Not drastically, just slightly. But over time, slight misalignment leads to significant distance. Imagine a plane shifting its direction by only a few degrees. At first, it seems almost identical, but hours later, it lands in a completely different place. That is what was forming. Your spiritual sensitivity was at risk, and sensitivity is your advantage. It is how you detect truth. It is how you avoid traps. It is how you walk confidently through uncertainty. The mistake you made was not powerful enough to destroy you, but repeated, it would have normalized spiritual numbness. God's anger rose because numbness was attempting to take root. Numbness leads to apathy. Apathy leads to stagnation. And stagnation slowly suffocates potential. But here is the turning point. The very fact that you feel conviction right now means numbness is not won. Conviction is proof that your spirit is alive. This is why you must act boldly in this moment. Do not simply feel sorry. Make decisive adjustments. Rearrange your environment if necessary. Reevaluate your priorities. Guard your time more fiercely. Protect your focus like it is sacred, because it is. There is acceleration waiting for you on the other side of alignment. But acceleration requires direction. Right now, heaven is recalibrating your direction. You may have felt lately that something was slightly off. A subtle frustration. And I explained restlessness. That was not random emotion. It was your spirit sensing diversion before your mind recognized it. When you correct this mistake fully, that restlessness will transform into clarity. And listen carefully. This message reaching you is not accidental. If it resonates, that means your spirit is responding. Do not keep this warning to yourself. Like this message so it can reach others who are being quietly diverted. Share it with someone who has been drifting without realizing it. Comment your commitment below to seal your correction. Subscribe to this channel so you stay connected to guidance that protects your destiny. Join the membership if you feel called to stand deeper in this movement of spiritual awareness. Hype this message so truth rises above distraction in a world filled with noise. Because diversion thrives in silence, but correction multiplies when declared. And hear this clearly. What was forming behind the scenes can still be completely cancelled. But cancellation requires consistency. Do not correct yourself tonight and relax tomorrow. Build a rhythm of discipline. Establish new boundaries. Strengthen your prayer life. Guard your thoughts. Choose environments that sharpen you instead of sedating you. You are too close to breakthrough to be sidetracked. What I will reveal next will show you how this correction does more than protect you. It actually positions you for a level of favor that would not have been released without this confrontation. Hold your focus. The next revelation will show you how what looked like anger is actually preparation for elevation. Warrior of destiny, you must now understand the mystery hidden inside this confrontation. What looked like divine anger was actually divine positioning. Heaven does not correct randomly. When correction comes with this much urgency, it means promotion is near. God does not waste refinement on people who are going nowhere. Refinement is reserved for those about to rise. Your mistake triggered a response because your next level carries weight. I, Archangel Michael, have been assigned to guard thresholds. Thresholds are spiritual doorways between one dimension of responsibility and another. You have been standing at one without fully realizing it. You felt the pressure. You sensed the shift. But you did not understand why resistance increased at the same time. It increased because elevation attracts opposition. The enemy does not panic over ordinary movement. He reacts when someone is about to break limitation. He intensifies distraction when breakthrough is close. He amplifies temptation when authority is about to expand. Your recent compromise was not random weakness. It was targeted pressure at the exact point where your discipline was holding the line. But here is the revelation that changes everything. The fact that you were warned means you are still trusted. Heaven does not warn those it has abandoned. God corrects those he intends to use. This confrontation was proof that your calling is active. Imagine if no conviction had come. Imagine if you felt nothing after your mistake. That would be the true danger. What you felt it. You sensed the discomfort. You could not ignore the inner tension. That is evidence of spiritual life. The anger of God is not emotional instability. It is passionate protection over purpose. There are conversations ahead of you that will require courage. There are leadership moments approaching where others will look to you for stability. There are opportunities forming that demand integrity without compromise. And before you step into those spaces, your foundation must be solid. This correction strengthens your foundation. When you humble yourself before elevation, elevation becomes sustainable. Many people pray for open doors but resist closed ones. They want favor but dislike discipline. They want influence but avoid refinement. You are being shaped differently. The urgency of 11:57 p.m. symbolized that your old level was expiring. Expiration is not loss. It is transition. You cannot carry the habits of one season into the responsibilities of another without friction. That friction is what you have been feeling lately. A sense that your old patterns no longer fit. A sense that your conversations feel different. A sense that your tolerance for certain behaviors has decreased. That is growth pressing against comfort. And growth always feels uncomfortable before it feels powerful. Your mistake momentarily aligned you with your past instead of your future. That is why correction came swiftly. You are not meant to move backward anymore. The season of casual compromise is over. From this point forward, your decisions must reflect who you are becoming, not who you used to be. Heaven is not only closing doors of diversion, it is unlocking rooms of influence. You will notice soon that opportunities begin appearing unexpectedly. Conversations will shift. Doors that were once closed will open without excessive effort. That is not coincidence. It is alignment restoring flow. But hear this warning carefully. Do not treat this correction lightly once peace returns. The enemy often waits for relief before attempting subtle re-entry. Stay disciplined. Stay alert. Stay anchored. You are being entrusted with greater clarity. Clarity requires responsibility. Responsibility requires consistency. And consistency requires commitment beyond emotion. The midnight shift is not something to fear. It is something to prepare for with confidence. Because now, you are stepping into it cleansed, aware, and aligned. In what I will reveal next, you will understand how this moment does not just affect you individually. It affects your household, your relationships, and even those connected to your future. There is a ripple effect attached to your obedience that you have not fully seen yet. Remain focused. The next revelation will show you the generational impact of this decision and why heaven fought so fiercely to wake you before the shift. Anointed one, what you are about to understand now goes far beyond you. This was never only about your personal mistake. It was about the ripple effect attached to your obedience. Every decision you make sends a signal forward and outward. It touches people you know and people you have not yet met. It influences atmospheres you walk into. It shapes conversations that have not even happened yet. That is why heaven reacted strongly. Your compromise was not isolated. And Reg, I, Archangel Michael, have witnessed how one act of alignment can shield an entire household. I have also seen how one unchecked pattern can create cracks in environments meant to be protected. You carry more spiritual influence than you realize. Your obedience stabilizes your home. Your discipline strengthens your relationships. Your clarity sharpens the discernment of those around you. When you drift, those connected to you feel it, even if they cannot explain it. Recently, there has been subtle tension in your environment. Perhaps small misunderstandings. Perhaps emotional distance. Perhaps a feeling that something is unsettled. That was not coincidence. Spiritual misalignment radiates outward before it manifests inward. But here is the powerful truth. When you corrected yourself, you did not only secure your next season, you shifted the atmosphere around you. Peace begins to return not only within you but within your space. Favor begins to rest not only on your work but on your household. Clarity begins to influence not only your thoughts but your decisions in relationships. Obedience creates covering. The enemy was not only aiming at you, he was aiming at your influence. If he could dull your discernment, he could weaken your leadership quietly. If he could entangle your focus, he could disrupt unity around you. That is how generational patterns begin. Not with dramatic collapse, but with gradual tolerance. Heaven intervened because you are meant to break patterns, not repeat them. There are cycles in your family line that stop with you. Cycles of compromise. Cycles of silence. Cycles of delayed obedience. And when you chose alignment tonight, you disrupted more than a habit. You disrupted history. That is why the warning was intense. You are positioned as a turning point. You may not feel powerful. You may not see yourself as a spiritual pillar. but your decisions carry authority. Your consistency sets standard. Your repentance resets direction for others who observe you. And even beyond your current circle, there are people assigned to your future who require a refined version of you. Future partnerships depend on your integrity today. Future collaborations depend on your discipline now. Future influence depends on your clarity tonight. Midnight symbolized more than transition. It symbolized inheritance. You are stepping into a season where what you build will last longer than you expect. But lasting impact requires clean foundations. Imagine walking into your next opportunity carrying hidden compromise. It would eventually surface under pressure. But because you addressed it now, your next level will feel lighter, stronger, more stable. That is the ripple of obedience. And there is something else you must recognize. When heaven corrects you privately and you respond, it increases your spiritual authority publicly. Authority is not loud. It is weight. When you speak, people will sense depth. When you lead, people will sense stability. When you advise, people will sense wisdom. That weight is formed in moments like this. Do not underestimate what just happened in your life. A silent correction prevented a loud lesson. A humble response prevented a public exposure. A quick adjustment prevented a long detour. That is mercy operating at full strength. Type "My house is covered" in the comments if you receive this shift over your life. Blessing code 8821 is now activated over every obedient heart connected to this message. And as you stand in this covering, understand that this channel is not just sharing words. It is building shields over households across nations. When you release super thanks, join membership, or sow through the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a platform. You are strengthening a spiritual alarm system that awakens others before their midnight moment arrives. The Lord declares, "Those who water others will themselves be watered." Your seed becomes oil in the lamp of another soul. Your generosity becomes light in someone else's darkness. This is your moment to act prophetically. Do not scroll past obedience. Step into partnership. Release your seed. Secure your harvest. And watch how heaven multiplies what you place in His hands. Stay attentive, because what comes next will reveal how this shift changes the spiritual battles around you permanently. Steadfast soul, now you must understand how this correction has altered the battles around you. The spiritual pressure you were feeling was not only internal. There were forces observing your transition. There were distractions assigned to test your focus. There were subtle invitations designed to measure your discipline. But when you responded to this warning, something shifted in the unseen realm. I, Archangel Michael, speak as one who stands in the midst of spiritual conflict. When a believer chooses alignment under pressure, reinforcements are released. When obedience is restored, protection intensifies. When humility replaces pride, authority expands. Your decision did not go unnoticed. The very forces that hoped to weaken you were forced to retreat when you corrected yourself. They rely on agreement. They rely on silence. They rely on slow compromise. But when you broke agreement with that mistake, you disrupted their strategy. That is why you may begin to notice a strange calm settling over situations that once felt tense. You may sense clarity where there was confusion. You may feel renewed strength in areas where you were once tired. That is not imagination. That is alignment producing stability. However, you must remain vigilant. Victory in one moment does not eliminate future tests. It strengthens you for them. The enemy often returns with similar tactics, hoping you will relax your guard. But now you are aware. Now you recognize how small compromises attempt to grow roots. Now you understand that diversion begins subtly. Awareness is power. The midnight shift you crossed was a line in the spirit. On one side was delay, and the other side is acceleration. But acceleration demands focus. When momentum increases, distractions can feel more intense because your movement is more visible. Do not mistake increased attention for attack. It may simply mean your influence is rising. There are doors opening ahead that will require sharper discernment than before. Opportunities will present themselves that look attractive but may not align fully with your assignment. Conversations will arise that test your boundaries again. The difference now is that you will sense the warning earlier. Your sensitivity had been sharpened. And hear this clearly: sensitivity is not weakness. It is spiritual intelligence. When you feel discomfort about something, do not override it for convenience. When you sense hesitation, investigate it rather than ignore it. When peace withdraws, pause instead of pushing forward. These are the disciplines of elevated living. Your obedience tonight has also changed how heaven entrusts you with responsibility. There is a deeper level of communication becoming available to you. Dreams may become clearer. Insights may come more quickly. Patterns may reveal themselves faster. That is the reward of responsiveness. God speaks more to those who act on what they hear. But remember this truth: correction is not a one-time event. It is a lifestyle of quick adjustments. The stronger you become, the faster you must respond to misalignment. That is how leaders remain steady under pressure. You are being shaped into someone who does not drift easily. The battles around you are no longer about survival. They are about stewardship. Stewardship of influence. Stewardship of clarity. Stewardship of integrity. And integrity must be guarded continuously. There will be moments in the coming weeks when you feel tempted to relax your standards slightly. You will hear thoughts like, "You have already corrected yourself. You deserve a break." Be careful with that voice. Rest is healthy. Regression is not. Balance discipline with grace, but never confuse grace with permission to slide backward. The shift you experienced was not dramatic externally, but it was decisive spiritually. Lines were redrawn. Access points were closed. Authority was reaffirmed. You stood at 11:57 p.m. spiritually, and you chose alignment before midnight sealed the season. Few people recognize such moments. Fewer still respond correctly. That is why your path is changing. In what follows, you will understand how to maintain this momentum and how to recognize the next warning before it becomes urgent. The goal is not to live in fear of mistakes. The goal is to live in awareness of movement. Prepare yourself. The next revelation will equip you with practical spiritual habits that keep you ahead of diversion and firmly planted in your calling. Disciplined heart. Now it is time to speak about maintenance. Correction brought you back into alignment, but maintenance will keep you there. Many people experience powerful moments of awakening, yet they slowly drift again because they fail to build structure around their breakthrough. You will not repeat that cycle. I, Archangel Michael, have watched countless destinies rise and fall on one simple principle: what is not guarded consistently will eventually be tested successfully. The shift you crossed at your symbolic 11:57 p.m. was real. But now you must establish habits that protect that shift. The first habit is daily self-examination. Not condemnation. Not overthinking. But honest reflection. Ask yourself at the end of each day, did my actions align with who I am becoming? This question keeps your spirit sharp. It prevents weeks of drift from forming silently. When correction happens daily, crisis becomes rare. The second habit is guarding your environment intentionally. The spaces you spend time in influence your standards more than you realize. Conversations shape thought patterns. Media shapes tolerance levels. You cannot elevate while constantly surrounded by what pulls you backward. Evaluate what feeds your clarity and what feeds confusion. The third habit is immediate response to discomfort. If something feels slightly misaligned, do not negotiate with it. Address it early. The mistake that triggered this entire warning began as a small hesitation you ignored. You will not ignore those signals again. Maintenance also requires discipline in private. Public strength is built in unseen choices. The way you manage your time when no one is watching. The thoughts you entertain when alone. The integrity you maintain in small decisions. These private victories compound into visible authority. Understand this clearly. The enemy does not fear your intentions. He fears your consistency. Anyone can make a passionate promise in a powerful moment, but few maintain that promise quietly over time. You are stepping into the category of those who maintain. You may notice new opportunities emerging soon. Invitations, ideas, aliens. Some will be aligned. Some will be distractions disguised as opportunity. Do not move out of excitement alone. Move out of clarity. The same awareness that corrected you will now guide you. And hear this carefully. Do not isolate yourself in this growth. Share this awareness. Speak about discipline. Encourage alignment in others. When you teach what you practice, it becomes rooted more deeply in you. If this message is strengthening you, do not stay silent. Like this video so others who are drifting can be awakened. Share it with someone who needs maintenance after correction. Comment your commitment below so your words reinforce your direction. Subscribe to this channel to stay anchored in guidance that protects your calling. Join the membership if you feel called to stand consistently in this movement. Hype this message so discipline becomes louder than distraction in a noisy world. And before you scroll, understand this. The next revelation ties everything together in a way you did not expect. Maintenance is not just about avoiding mistakes. It is about preparing for multiplication. Because the season ahead is not neutral. It is expansive. When alignment is sustained, acceleration increases. When acceleration increases, responsibility multiplies. And when responsibility multiplies, influence expands. You are not being trained to survive. You are being trained to lead. Leadership begins with self-governance. Self-governance begins with awareness. Awareness must be protected daily. There will be moments when you feel tempted to return to old comfort zones. Nostalgia will whisper. Familiar patterns will seem easier. But remember how close you were to diversion. Remember the urgency you felt. Let that memory strengthen your resolve. The midnight you crossed was symbolic of maturity. Immaturity delays correction. Maturity responds immediately. You responded. Now you must remain steady. What I am about to reveal next will show you how this entire experience was not only about preventing loss, but about unlocking a level of favor that was waiting on your obedience. You will see how what felt like a warning was actually the final key to a door you have been praying to open. Stay focused. The final revelations will seal this shift permanently in your spirit. Resolute spirit, now we arrive at the revelation that changes the meaning of everything you just walked through. This was never only about preventing loss. It was about unlocking favor. There are blessings that respond to prayer. There are doors that respond to timing. But there are certain levels of favor that respond only to obedience under pressure. You were praying for acceleration, for clarity, for visible confirmation that heaven was moving in your life. What you did not realize is that the key to that acceleration was hidden inside this correction. I, Archangel Michael, have witnessed a divine pattern repeated through generations. Before major elevation, there is always a moment of testing. Not to trap, but to measure readiness. Readiness is not about talent. It is about alignment. It is about whether your private decisions match your public prayers. You asked for increase. Heaven asked for integrity. You asked for expansion. Heaven asked for discipline. You asked for influence. Heaven asked for humility. And when the test came in the form of temptation and subtle compromise, your response determined your timeline. For a moment, you stepped slightly off course. But because you responded to correction quickly, the timeline was preserved. That is the hidden miracle here. There was a delay forming not as punishment, but as consequence. Had you ignored the warning, certain opportunities would have slowed. Certain relationships would have shifted. Certain breakthroughs would have required more time to manifest. Not because God withheld them, but because misalignment cannot carry multiplied favor safely. But the moment you corrected yourself, that delay was interrupted. Favor responds to alignment like wind fills a sail. You may begin to notice unusual ease in places that were once difficult. Conversations may flow more smoothly. Decisions may come with unexpected clarity. Doors may open with less resistance. Do not dismiss these shifts as coincidence. They are the fruit of obedience. Obedience is rarely celebrated publicly, but it is rewarded consistently. And here is something even deeper. This correction has increased your capacity. Capacity is your ability to handle more without breaking. Before this moment, certain blessings might have overwhelmed you emotionally or spiritually. Now, your foundation is stronger. You can carry more weight. You can manage more influence. You can steward more responsibility. The symbolic midnight you crossed was not an ending. It was a graduation. Graduation requires passing a test. You passed it not by being perfect, but by being responsive. That distinction matters. Perfection is not required for elevation. Responsiveness is. God does not seek flawless people. He seeks teachable ones. Your teachability preserved your promotion. There will soon be evidence of this shift. Perhaps in your work. Perhaps in your finances. Perhaps in your spiritual life. Perhaps in a long-awaited answer arriving unexpectedly. When it happens, remember this moment. Remember that favor was waiting on your obedience. And understand this clearly. The enemy is aware that acceleration is coming. He may attempt subtle distractions again, not with the same tactic, but with new variations. Stay anchored in the habits you built. Stay alert to early warning signs. Stay humble when favor increases. Favor without humility attracts instability. But humility stabilizes elevation. You are stepping into a season where your name will carry weight in rooms you once only imagined. Not for ego, but for impact. The lessons learned in this midnight moment will protect you when visibility increases. There is one final revelation that must be spoken to seal this entirely. It is about covenant, about long-term alignment, about ensuring that what you unlocked is never lost through carelessness. Prepare your heart for that final word. It will anchor everything you have received and release a blessing over your future that extends beyond this season. Stand firm. The closing declaration will secure what heaven has restored and propel you into what is waiting. Beloved guardian of your own destiny, this is the sealing moment. Everything you have heard, everything you have felt, everything that stirred conviction inside you was leading here. to covenant. Correction restored you. Discipline stabilized you. Favor has begun to respond. But covenant is what sustains you. A covenant is not an emotional promise. It is a decided alignment. It is the internal line you draw and refuse to cross again. It is the quiet agreement between you and God that says, from this point forward, I do not return to what almost cost me my future. I, Archangel Michael, stand witness to covenants. In the spirit realm, words matter. Decisions echo. When you choose alignment decisively, heaven records it. When you declare integrity boldly, reinforcement surrounds it. This final step is about permanence. The mistake you made no longer has power over you. The diversion that was forming has been canceled. The delay that was approaching has been interrupted. But without covenant, memory fades and discipline weakens. Covenant seals transformation. Right now, you are not the same person who stood at 11:57 p.m. spiritually. You are sharper, more aware, more anchored. You have seen how small compromises attempt to grow quietly. You have felt how urgent correction can be. You have witnessed how obedience restores authority. Now you must decide that this level of awareness becomes your new normal. There will be future tests. Not because you failed, but because you are growing. Each new level carries new responsibility. But covenant ensures that when pressure returns, your response will be faster and firmer. Say within yourself, I am no longer casual with my calling. Because that is what this entire message was about. You were treating something sacred as ordinary. You were allowing what required vigilance to become familiar. And heaven refused to let that continue. From this day forward, you walk differently. You guard your time differently. You choose your influences differently. You respond to conviction immediately. You do not wait for urgency to force action. This is maturity. Midnight has passed. The new season has begun. And instead of entering it with hidden compromise, you enter it with sealed integrity. There is peace in that. There is confidence in that. There is authority in that. And hear this final truth clearly. God's anger has fully transformed into covering. What began as confrontation has ended in confirmation. You are still chosen. You are still called. You are still entrusted. But now, you are also refined. The next months will reveal the fruit of this refinement. Opportunities will confirm it. Stability will confirm it. Inner peace will confirm it. And when acceleration comes, you will not panic. You will steward it. Because you learned before midnight. Seal this moment with declaration. Type I will not cross that line again in the comments if you are establishing covenant tonight. Blessing code 9903 is now released over every soul who chooses permanent alignment. And now, as this covenant settles over you, hear this final call. This message did not reach you by accident. It reached you because heaven still warns before it disciplines and restores before it exposes. There are countless souls standing at their own 11:57 p.m. unaware that diversion is forming around them. When you release super thanks, stand in membership, or sow through the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are placing oil in lamps that are about to go out. The Lord declares, those who build my house, I will build theirs. Your seed becomes a shield over another family. Your generosity becomes a trumpet of warning before midnight strikes in someone else's life. This is not charity. It is covenant participation. Do not hesitate when obedience is calling. Act now. Release your seed. Partner in this mission. and watch how the same God who corrected you multiplies back into your life everything you place in his hands.